Yo, what's good, you guys? Your boy Ben Mahari here, represent Mahari Nation Sports Podcast. Hope y'all been having a good week thus far, though, man. Hope y'all been staying safe, staying healthy out there, man. Especially during this whole COVID-19 pandemic. You know what I'm saying? You know, but let's get down to the nit and gritty here, guys. So I know this video is a little bit late, though, but better late than never. But the LA Lakers right now, they are on, they are making major moves in the offseason, massive moves, I should say, as you see in the title of this video here. So after the Lakers, fell short in the first round, they basically immediately went to work in reconstructing the roster, and they went to work with a game plan. Their game plan initially was that they were trying to get either Bradley Beal or Damian Lillard to come play for the team. Actually, yeah, but unfortunately, those two players had made it clear that they were not leaving their teams. So Russell Westbrook, in a sense, was plan B, and Buddy Hield was plan C. And they got into plan B, and it worked out. They were able to acquire Russell Westbrook, via trade. Do a multi-team trade deal to bring him over here. And so right now, they pretty much won that big sweepstakes in getting Russell Westbrook. Also, you also consider the fact that they now added Kent Bazemore. You brought back Dwight Howard, right? Those are two good moves, acquisitions, right? You also brought in some necessary shooting. You brought in Wayne Ellington. You brought in Kendrick Nunn, talent, no, Horton Tucker, and you brought in Malik Monk too as well. This is really going to help their shooting, needs. But also the big one of all is when they brought in Carmelo Anthony a couple of days ago, which is really going to shore up, their rotation. Now, here's how I look at this whole situation. On paper, this team is absolutely favored, right? They are the favorites to come out of the West, and they obviously are favorites to win the championship. The moves they made thus far are really, really, on point to what they're doing. Basically, what Palinka has pretty much done is that he's kind of cleared up, salary space, moved a lot of unnecessary contracts under the salary cap to bring in the necessary talent that is going to really help out the two main stars, which is LeBron James and Anthony Davis. Like I said, you brought in Westbrook, you brought in Howard, you brought in Anthony, you brought in Wayne Ellington, Kendrick Nunn, THT, and also you brought in Malik Monk too as well. So, considering the fact that Frank Vogel is a defensive-minded coach, adding Kent Bazemore and only on a veterans minimum deal, which is a very a discount type of deal if we're being honest here, adding him onto that roster, not only he provides you offense, but he's excellent on defense too. So now you add him to the mix, it really shores up their defensive issues. All right, and the other thing too is that you also bring in veterans like Trevor Ariza, Ellington, Anthony, and then you bring in Malik Monk too as well, which is basically a good steals. Could they have their defensive issues? Yeah, it could. But the other thing too is that you also still got Anthony Davis, LeBron James, and also Russell Westbrook that are good defenders still too. So I wouldn't be too worried about how they're going to do well defensively. Here's my concern about this whole situation. My concern about this team and how this team is going to look. Can this team, coexist and perhaps, go through their early struggles and get them over with in the first week of the season? Now, let's keep this in mind. When you bring in these type of pieces to a team that has already won a championship, all right, that has already won the championship 2 years ago, there's going to be a period where it's going to be a bit of a transitional period where the pieces are starting, the new guys on the team are going to try to, figure out what their roles are and try to figure out what they can they do to help out the main stars of the team. We know that the main stars are going to do what they do best. All right. And I've heard some people saying that Russell Westbrook, breaks up teams, not, which is somewhat a valid, criticism of him. But here's how I see in this whole thing. LeBron James and Anthony Davis are high IQ players. And the same goes for Russell Westbrook, too. And Russell Westbrook is back in his hometown of Los Angeles. Remember, he is from LA. He went to school in UCLA and led them to a Final Four in 2008 with Kevin Love and also Darren Collison. Yeah, my memory just blanked a little bit. Darren Collison, just a little bit. But the thing that I, the thing that this whole thing about about this whole team that I'm really going to be interested in is that how Frank Vogel is going to scheme out this whole attack. Now you add shooters out there with Anthony, with Bazemore, Kendrick Nunn, Malik Monk too as well. Now you add some spacing to the whole scheme of things that's going to really open up the floor for the main stars, the big three of Russell Westbrook, LeBron James, and Anthony Davis to really, have their spacing to pretty much do what they do best. And I think that we're going to see is how the big three are going to try to share the wealth of one another. That's going to be one of the big things about it because the one thing that I'm going to be a little be concerned was that I say concern is that Russell Westbrook and LeBron James they like to have the ball in their hands to pretty much do what they do best: create shots for themselves, create shots for others, and pretty much control the flow of the game. I think that this point, I think that with Russell Westbrook, in terms of what he's going through in his career, and a lot of big questions around him, I think that we might see him defer him a little bit to LeBron James in this extent. Could I see it the other way around? Maybe, but I think that that's where it's going to be. The other the other main issue is, and that's going to be the biggest, and it was the biggest culprit for them last year was injuries. We know that Anthony Davis can't play a full season. I mean, let's just be real here. He has never played a full season throughout his entire career. I think the highest amount of games he ever played in his career by far, as I uh, pull this up right here. So let's see how many games he's played throughout his career. The highest amount of games he's played throughout his career. I think you got to go back to his days when he was in New Orleans. Yeah, he's only played his highest amount of games he's ever played in his career is 75 games. He's normally between 70 to 60 games per season. And this previous year, he only played 36 games. So at this point right now, you guys, he's entering his 10th year in the NBA, his third with the LA Lakers. And so we know that Anthony Davis is going to miss a lot of time. This is why bringing in Dwight Howard could probably, help him out in terms of bringing in that athleticism off of your bench, which is going to be needed. Honestly, I don't know why Dwight Howard even left LA even, to begin with. He should have taken the previous contract that he had, and he would have been in Los Angeles to begin with. But you know what? Better late than never, I say. So I mean, he's back in LA now. So, but it is what it is. But the way I look at the landscape of how the offseason has been, the LA Lakers have really done an excellent job of not only clearing the cap, clearing, a lot of salary cap, to bring in these guys, but they brought in the right amount of pieces that's going to really help out this team, probably get themselves up going as a new season approaches. But we're going to see how this whole team, meshes, how this will work. And I've seen people talk about this could probably remind them of the 2012, 2013 Lakers. Here's the problem with that argument. There are several guys on that team. I'm not sorry. Kobe Bryant was 34. Pau Gasol was 32. Artest was 33. Steve Nash was 38. And Steve Blake was 32. And to Antoine Jameson, who was their starting power forward, was 36. That team was an aging team at the time, and they were trying to run a Princeton-led offense with Mike Brown. All right. That team was never going to work. Even on paper, when you brought in Dwight Howard, that they thought that they were going to be title contenders, all that had to do was bringing a couple of injuries into the mix, and it was going to throw everything off. Then you played around with the rumors about bringing in Phil Jackson, but then all of a sudden you bring in Mike D'Antoni out of nowhere. Like it just threw off the entire chemistry of the team, and they just were never to get themselves going. Then Kobe, blew out his Achilles and pretty much derailed his career after that. And so I don't see that scenario happening. Could I see them going off to a slow start in the first 3 months of the season? I could. You know what I mean? And don't be surprised if there's some, rumblings about how this team is, playing together and how the pieces are trying to acclimate themselves. But we just have to see how the season starts. I think we're making too much of assumption about how this team is going to look. What does this team remind us of, or anything like that? You know, we'll just have to see how this team is going to perform, how they're going to acclimate themselves, and what type of system is how they. I'm sorry, I shouldn't say what type of system they're going to play. How the players are going to acclimate themselves into the system, and how they're going to perform themselves into their best ability to get the best out of themselves. Because these moves, what the Lakers are making a statement is that they're going for the championship this year. After getting themselves, dogged with injuries throughout the whole year. And let's be real here. Dennis Schroeder to me was not a perfect fit for that team. His game and his skill set that he brought to the team was never going to fit well with that specific team. So it was better off for him to just let him go. You know, but I like the moves that they've made. We're going to see how this fits, and we're going to definitely see how this team is going to acclimate themselves. All the pressure is on the Lakers to come out of the West and win the championship, of course. So we're going to see what happens. We're going to see how this team looks. But I like what they've done thus far. They obviously have won, the best offseason award in my view. But we'll see how this looks. I'm going to do a separate video about Chicago Bulls because I really like how my Bulls have really performed this offseason. You know what I'm saying? But I'm going to do a separate video on that. But let me know what you think in the comment section below. How do you think this team is going to look? How do you like the pieces? Do these pieces fit? And how will the Lakers look as the season starts? But let me know what you think in the comment section below. And with that, I'm out. Peace.